Hi, I'm John from Unix Circles, and today we're going to look at some old Sun workstations, the Sun Ultra 5 and the Ultra 10. These are Ultra Spark 2 based workstations, which runs from 270 to 440 megahertz. They're still extremely useful because they run Solaris 2.6, which is extremely popular, all the way through Solaris 10. So let's take a look inside our machines. Both machines use the exact same system board. Their code names were Einstein and Darwin, after scientists of the day. The only difference between the Ultra 10 and the mini tower configuration and the Ultra 5 is that in the Ultra 10, you have to pay more for it. It has a 250 watt power supply versus a 200 watt power supply in the Ultra 5. And the Ultra 10 allows you to put in the UPA bus creator, which was the full height video card of the day, and other high graphics options. So to open the Ultra 10, we remove the 4 screws in the back. We open and pop, turn it upside down, pop the top, and we're inside the machine. So let's look at a few components inside the Ultra 10. First of all, you have a system board here, CD-ROM, floppy, and typically the hard drive is stored right under here in the Ultra 10. The Ultra 10 was known to support 2 hard drives, because you had an extra 5¼ inch bay you could put a bracket for right there. You have your system memory right here. The system memory is fast page mode, 60 nanoseconds or 50 nanosecond memory. All these chips. This is well before PC 133 memory. This is a 256 meg DIMM with all these chips here. The Ultra 10 had more PCI slots here, and also this is the processor right here. This is a 440 megahertz processor. They also came anywhere from the 270 through the 360. There's 2 generations of the system board. Typically this tan color is the ones that will support 360 and 440 megahertz CPUs, and if you have a green color, they're only going to support 270 megahertz. So you have 2 IDE cables here, a floppy drive cable, and your power supply comes out right here. And that's the tour of the Ultra 10. Let's open up our Ultra 5. Our Ultra 5 was the smaller desktop model. And this is the first machine that Sun ever sold for $999, $1,000 for a Spark workstation, which was a lot of the day. When these were coming out, these were 440 megahertz RISC-based processors, and you were at 300 megahertz Pentium 2s. These were 64-bit processors. And the same server software you ran on this machine here would also run on your large enterprise-based Sun Solaris server. So it was a real boon for Solaris development back in Solaris 6 and 7. It brought on Solaris 8. And Solaris 8, combined with Veritas and Oracle, was the de facto standard of the day for soft internet web developers. This box for $999 was so popular, everybody put it and wrote all the proprietary code you possibly could for every application, from stock market to designing semiconductors to Oracle databases. We still sell a ton of these machines today. We ship over 500 of these machines a year here at Unix Circles. Let's take a look inside the Ultra 5. Exact same system board you're going to see here, 2 less PCI slots, but it had some funky different things. Instead of having 2 5¼ inch bays, it had this very special proprietary bracket you could put in right over here and remove your floppy that would allow you to put in a second hard drive. That was pretty funky right there at the day. Just to show you some of the slower processors that came in the machine, if it had these little mini tower heat sinks, it's usually 333 or 270 megahertz. The 270 only has 3 towers, whereas the faster processors will have the full 5 little towers. Each of these is a RISC-based cache chip, and then here's the microprocessor underneath here. Just to show you some other memory DIMMs that could possibly go in the Ultra 5, there's a difference in the height. Because of this floppy, you could only put in 128 meg DIMMs, but just pull your floppy out, and then you can put in the taller 256 meg DIMMs that came in the Ultra 10. Again, the exact same system board. So let's take a look at a few of the more common options for this system. This guy here was the dual port SCSI and Ethernet. It was called the Happy Meal. All the way back in S-Bus days, it was the HPE card or the Happy Meal card. Everybody called it the Happy Meal because you got both SCSI I/O and a second Ethernet, so you could have routes and connect to an external disk array. Other popular video options for this guy are the PGX32, which gives you a 15-pin VGA, which is very popular, and the PGX64, which is the follow-on to that, with more video processing skills. Any of these systems, you can always pull the video and PCI cards out and just have the onboard PGX24 HD15 video. You also have serial console right here, audio, and keyboard. The keyboard is proprietary to Sun. It's called a mini DIN keyboard. It's not actually a PC or PS2 keyboard. As you can see inside here, you're going to find that there's no key pin whatsoever. Only Sun will run on this. If you don't have a keyboard plugged into your Sun Ultra 5, you won't be able to start it up to video. It'll go just straight to the serial console port right here and wait for console input. So let's take a look at how to turn on one of these systems. First of all, if you have the Ultra 10, you're probably going to have one of these UPA bus video cards. Those use the 13W3 video slots and are vertical and sit right here. That's a Elite 3D M6. This is an Elite 3D M3 with about only half the 3D processing power. You can either purchase, if you want to get one of these, you can purchase one of our 13W3 to HD15 video adapters that allow you to hook up a standard monitor. One of the problems about these things is that they do put out funky resolutions like 1920 by 1100, which is a strange screen resolution, so not everything will sync to that. You need to either get a modern LCD bigger than 15 inches, or you need to get a high-end CRT monitor as well. So that's the video card. So just pull any of these here, and then you can hook up right away to the HD15 standard video connector that you're going to see on the system board. There's two power switches on each of them, a power switch on the back, which we turn on, then there's also a power switch on the front where you can turn the system as well. One of the things you'll notice on all these machines is they're just so old, and all the plastic is yellowing. It's not our lights, it's not smokers, it's what the quality of the beige plastic that was used at the time. So all the plastic is fading and yellowing. You can see that we can never get something that's as good quality plastic anymore. So after you get the machine powered on, you're going to come to the boot prompt, and we're going to review a few of the different things. This is sometimes called the fourth interpreter, because fourth was the programming language that was used, or the OK prompt, because it gives you an OK prompt. To break anything, you're going to hit the stop key here, hold it down and hit A, which is stop all. Let's go over here to our TV and we'll look at some of the commands. Here at the OK prompt, we can do a bunch of things. After we've heard that stop A, we've interrupted the boot process. Because this machine doesn't have a disk drive, it's trying to boot off the network. You can see a lot of things here in the boot banner right here. Your CPU speed, your firmware version, how much memory you have, and also your Ethernet MAC address. If your Ethernet MAC address is FFFFFFF, that means that you have a bad NVRAM battery. This is a common thing on these old machines. The battery will die. One of the first commands you want to use is help, just to get you everything you want to do. There's also set env. So set env over here allows you to set environmental values, but you need to know what your environmental variables are. So if you go here to print env, it shows you everything right here. So you can take a look here, there's a lot of things here, like your terminal speed baud rate. So if you want to talk to your serial port, it's 9600 baud. Very important, it's sometimes set or confused if you don't have a video card in there. Diag level to max. You can also set this to minimum, which will allow you to run your machine to boot a lot quicker. If you have diag level max and a gig of memory, it'll still take you a good 30 seconds to power on your machine. Some other things too are boot device, if you want to boot off a network, disk, or which disk. One of the lot of things that set env allows you to do is to make an alias to say like disk 2, and I can do nv alias and the alias commands to make a different disk drive to boot off of, or a different disk slice or disk partition. So if I want to boot both Solaris 6 and 7, I can have different variable partitions on there, and I can set it here. Typically, you would have to go through and make an alias with involving the actual path of the SCSI bus to the controller, and then the disk target after that. The last things you want to take a look at here is the diag switch. If you set this to true, it goes into diagnostic mode, which will take a lot longer to boot. So one of the best commands for this is, so the set defaults command, if you spell it right, not set defaults. You want set defaults. Sorry, that's dyslexia for you. Sets the NVRAM parameters to default values. So if we do it back to print env, our diag levels are now back up to max here and none, with diag switches set to false. Okay? So let's do an example of set env. So the set dash defaults needs to be spelled correctly, but after you do this, sets the NVRAM parameters to the default values. So we want to go back to print env, which will then go show you all the different levels here. So let's take a look at this diag dash level, and we'll show you how currently it's set to max. Let's set it to min. So we do a set env diag dash led level space to min. Gives you what the current value is here and what you can set it to over there on the sum. So now we're at diag level minimum, so we'll boot up quickly. There's a lot of different things you can look through here. Your banner, which was your boot banner and everything else. There's the sifting command. If you kind of remember something, it'll sift through the whole OS stack and look for a value. Useful if you're looking for register key values and other stuff. But if you're sifting banner, it shows you that the banner command is here, or what it's called, or auto banner, different values. In vocabulary fourth, which is again that interpreter language. So some defaults that you want. Boot CD-ROM will boot off your DVD media. Again, it gives you a default address of the PCI controller. We talked about this earlier. The ID address, the CD-ROM, the slice, and the partition right there. The other things that you want to set here are like boot disk. Will boot off your primary disk drive here. Boot net, if you want to boot off of a network Ethernet port, which is ARP. Okay? So that's a tour of our command interpreter for the Ultra 5 and 10. So that's a tour of the Solaris Ultra 5 and 10 systems. We've gone through the OK prompt as well. A few other notes: when you boot on your system and you don't have it running, it'll automatically boot and go into Solaris OS. If you don't automatically shut it down by going to a halt command or go to init3 or single user mode, you're going to not be able to shut down your hard drive. When it comes up, you might have corrupted your boot partition. A few other things: if you're looking for Solaris 6, you need special hard drives to support only up to 20 gigs of hard drives, whereas Solaris 8 and everything else support LVA mode, so you can put all the way up to a 500 gig IDE drive in your machine. Solaris 7 and 6 commonly use CDE, or Common Desktop Environment, which is an old Solaris. It looks very much like Sun 3 OS partition. And then Solaris 8 and everything else go to CDE, which is a Sun Unix Common Desktop Environment between HP UX, HP Linux, and Solaris. They try to make a common desktop. That's what CDE stands for. So I hope you enjoyed our tour. If you need any help, any support, we do a lot of these systems every day. You can order any machine you want from UnixSurplus.com or calling us at 877-UNIX-123. If you have any special operating system needs, just give us a call.